Hey guys, welcome to another Friday Night Restoration. That is a project I try to complete start to finish in one night, typically on a Friday. This time around we're going to take a look at one of the items I acquired recently in an auction, in which I really wanted to get a 7-inch late 40s television, but it came with two radios. This particular one is the Meck. It's an AM radio, but it's also a phonograph. Now, I already did a little bit of research, and thanks to one of my viewers who identified the exact model number, I was able to find some service info. When I initially got it and did a quick video on it, I noticed it had said Meck Trailblazer on the dial scale. And I Googled that, and I found a few hits for the radio-only version of this. Well, a little bit of conversation on the Antique Radio Forum. That was about it. But once I knew the exact model number, which is PM-5C5 DW10, I found the Sam's Photo Fact for the phonograph version. I found it on the radiomuseum.org website, which now allows you to download 3 pages of a schematic if you are not a member. And luckily, that's all we need for this particular project. Based on some of the reader or viewer feedback I got, and a little bit of my research, I know a few things about this. One, it's made by John Meck in Plymouth, Indiana. See that just from the label on the bottom. John Meck Industries, Plymouth, Indiana. The year is 1946, so that's interesting, because that's right when World War II ended. And apparently this was rushed to market to meet the pent-up consumer demand for new merchandise. Meck is kind of an interesting company, and not known for making the highest-end stuff, and they also kind of did things their own way. So right away I noticed that this does not weigh very much. It's made from really thin plywood. It's an 1/8 of an inch thick. But this is in really good condition, so either it was really well cared for, or maybe it's more sturdy than its initial appearance would indicate. I don't know. As far as the design goes, I was thrown off a little bit because some of the surface info mentioned loctile tubes, but this has octal. Well, it turns out that they did both, depending on the production run you get. So in the service info, they mention both sets, and they mention the 2 tubes side by side. So it says 14A7 or 12B7, and so on. The 14 type tubes being the loctile version, and the tubes that start with 12 being the octal version. There is also a schematic built into the bottom, which I had not noticed. Or maybe I did but forgot. So in the main body they have the 12SA7, 12SK7, 12SQ7, but right above it 14Q7, 14A7, 14B6. But I could, from peering in the back, I'm pretty sure I do have the octal version. Alright, now, and this is also a phonograph, which you've never seen me work on before, because I think I only have one other device that has a phonograph in it, and that is a GE television from 1947, which is a real basic 78 RPM record player. Well, it turns out that's what this is as well. So here is the phonograph motor. Wires coming out. It's a bit of a, well, it's kind of spliced, but these splices look ancient. I'm just trying to figure out, is this original or has any bit of work done? Has any work ever been done to it? Probably the original line cord. It is cloth. It actually looks like something from the 30s rather than something from the 40s, but maybe they were reusing old stock. It looks usable. Not in pristine condition, but I don't see any fraying or anything that really concerns me. And you know what? I'm an idiot. I do have the loctile version. I don't know why I had octal stuck on my brain. I think I was looking at the schematic on the bottom. I convinced myself I had the octal version. I'm not sure which I would prefer. I know a lot of people hate loctiles, but As long as they go in and out of the sockets all right, I have no issues with them. Has built-in loop antenna. Very dinky chassis. Alright, so let's get that radio chassis out. Wow, is it really just held in by 2 screws? I think it might be. I think it's only held in by that screw, and then there's 4 very tiny feet. Otherwise, no, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't put a screw underneath the schematic. It's a neat thing, though, to have the schematic built in. So even if I hadn't found any service info online, I could have gone off of this. No alignment instruction, but it has a parts list and a full schematic. So what more do you need to get it running? All right, so let's see. I need to pull the knobs off. Well, at least that one. First one, get them off. There we go. Pretty sure those are original. Kind of generic looking. Boy, and that should be it. Just need a 1/4 inch nut driver. I'm not sure where the speaker is. It must be. I think it's mounted to the chassis. I can't really see it. It must be small. Oh, and the antenna's just flopping loose. I was wondering what was rattling around in there. I shouldn't say this isn't worth anything. It seems to be somewhat uncommon, and historically it's interesting as being a really early post-war radio. Well, now here's a bit of a challenge. The phonograph motor is in the way. So the question is, can I manipulate the chassis and get it out without having to unmount the phonograph? And I can also see why the wires were cut now, because they're connected together. So I think I will just cut them as somebody did in the past. Get the antenna out of the way. Rotate this around. I'm just going to take the phonograph motor out. I'll have to be careful of that tone arm too, because there must be a wire running from it down into the radio chassis somewhere. I find it remarkable that the cabinet, just being thin plywood with curves on it, that it hasn't fallen apart. Dial scale fell out. That's I could use a little bit of cleaning. All right. So it just runs directly off the line. Idler wheel you can replace just by pulling out a cotter pin, it looks like. And there's a spring on it. This idler wheel is moving. And it's just to provide tension against the platter. And sort of a dead spot there. A bit of one there. Bad one there. Another one there. So assuming we do get this to play, I expect it's going to have a little bit of a flutter to it. It hits those spots. I'm not sure where that goes. Better hang on to it. So one nice thing about taking video is I can play it back. Here's another one. Must have been one under each screw. I can play the video back and see how it all went together. So this loop antenna was just not attached to anything. Let's see. This originally had a loop antenna, or did somebody add that? Meck Trailblazer AC super heterodyne self-contained loop antenna record player. So yes. Don't know if there's any. Yeah. Fortunately, the scan wasn't exactly high-res grayscale. But yeah, well, I mean, they just the loop antenna just sort of sitting out here too. It has a hole in it, but there's no obvious signs that it was screwed to anything. But I can't imagine it was produced to just flop around. Wow, this is one cheap chassis. Check out the bend on that metal. Looks like somebody stepped on it. It's thick metal though. It just is super deformed. What the heck? I mean, how could that have happened? What was inside? Huh. It is heavy though, because that chassis weight, the metal, nice cadmium corrosion on it. Alright, so I should disconnect that loop antenna before it gets damaged. So it's just hardwired in like everything else. Before that, let's take a quick peek. So there's not much to it. We have the usual All-American 5-type electrolytic, 3 sections. All small though, it's just 320 microfarad caps, all 150 volt. Usually there's 2 larger and then 1 small one for the cathode bypass and the audio output tube. In this case, it's just 3 equal valued caps, equal voltage rating. Weird hodgepodge of caps, but I expect they're all original. I think every cap is a different manufacturer. We have a Solar, we have I think an Aerovox, a Sangamo, and Cornell Dublier, which is losing its end, and one big old mica mold right in the middle, which could very well be a paper cap inside of a plastic housing. It's pretty darn big. Green, black, orange, so 5, and it's probably a 0.05 microfarad cap. A little coil there, a little local oscillator, some odd looking resistors. See, 3 or maybe 4 different styles of resistors too. So I got the impression they were scrambling to source parts for this and having to just get whatever they could from whoever they could get it from. It's tough to know what you can grab on this thing without damaging anything. It's so small. Okay, we have a couple transformers up here. At least a speaker. There's a couple small holes in it. There are 2 little tears, but nothing major. Looks like not 1 tongue sole. The rest of the tubes are Sylvanias. And there's the tuning cap. Which works okay. The bearings are dry, but it moves. So, and then here's the mode switch. I'm going to disconnect the antenna before I damage it. And I'll clean this up a little bit. Boy, that was not exactly fun and relaxing like I was hoping. But I got it done. There were actually, amazingly, 2 resistors more or less in spec, so I left them alone. The rest were horribly out of spec. They went, all the caps were replaced. This guy was indeed, as near as I could figure, a .05, and I got replaced with this guy. One of the caps down here was across the line, so I replaced it with a Type X2 capacitor. The 3 electrolytics are now scattered around. It's pretty simple the way it goes. Right off the rectifier, we have a cap, a 200 ohm resistor, another electrolytic, 1K resistor, the 3rd electrolytic, all 22 microfarad. The only downside was, or the only drag was, there are no good grounding points in this area, which is where the rectifier tube is. So there was one hole through the chassis that was unused. I ran a lead through that and cranked my soldering iron up to the maximum wattage and tacked it down, and then did the same over here. In other words, I just soldered the negative lead right to the chassis because there are no grounding lugs anywhere around here. Didn't really want to add a terminal strip in to get warranted it. And the final one, there is actually a terminal strip over here, which is 2 lugs, ground, and where the cap positive should go. So, freed up a lot of space where the cap used to be, but anyways, I ended up over on this side. I also checked all the tubes, and one of them, the audio output tube, the filament is blown open. And that's, well, a common issue with all American 5s, where the filaments, are series strung, go right across the AC line, and when you turn it on, there's a surge of current, and the tube's filaments take the brunt of it. There's no current surge limiter. We will be adding a thermistor to this to help out and soften the blow when you turn the set on and the filaments are cold. But right now, after going through all that, I want to see if this thing works. So I need to dig up a good 50A5 audio output tube. Well, I went looking for a replacement 50A5, and it turns out I don't have very many spare Lochtel tubes on hand. I went through my tub of new and used Lochtel tubes, and pretty much all I have are pulls from TVs that are the lower voltage variety. Then I remembered, hey, I restored a Silvertone a while back, and it uses Lochtel tubes, and yes, it has a 50A5 in it, so I popped the back off, pulled the tube out, put it into this guy. Hopefully it won't burn out. I will order up a few spares. I hooked up the loop antenna. I have it plugged into my PR57. There is no dial lamp on this, so I'm going to be relying on the PR57 in current mode so I can see how much current draw there is, because nothing's going to light up, and it's hard to see any filament glow on these Lochtel tubes because they all have getters on top. Maybe we'll hear a crackle out of the speaker. Well, ideally we're going to hear some sound. I'm not sure about the mode switch. I don't know what position it's in right now. We will find out. Let's see, I'm going to turn this on, turn it up a bit, and here we go. It is drawing current, excellent. Very little. Less than 1/8 of an amp. Oh, Henry!
71% of the House should investigate.
Wow, there's a lot of hum. Something's not right. But it is working.
There's a possibility. 8, 7, another 74.
Why is there so much hum? Turns out there's actually nothing wrong with the radio. Two issues. One, overhead light puts out a ton of RF noise.
I would have given you an A, but you know.
Two, dirty controls, and they didn't have it turned up quite loud enough, I think.
Single-handedly, since the first part of December, attended with me 6 Christmas.
So, let us move on to the phonograph portion. Don't try this at home, kids. I have a cheater cord plugged into my Variac. I stripped the wire off the ends. Well, actually, they were already stripped because this has been cut and spliced. And we're just going to shove them in the holes. It's spinning, but the idler is so worn out. There's dead spots on it. Oops. That's the hole. There we go. That's what happens when you get dead spots when he's sitting for a long time. Hey! Voila, it works. So, the cartridge. Alright. Let's splice the stuff back in. An easy way to tell that the cartridge is working even without playing a record on there, I can just run my finger, the ridges on my skin will provide some vibration, and we'll see if we get any sound out of it. Crazy thing about this is, again, yes, it's demonstrating my ignorance of old record players. Pretty much my knowledge of these comes from watching Tom and Jerry cartoons, where one of the comic bits was one of the characters would fall into the cup full of steel needles, and their butt would be all full of needles, and they'd be picking them out. I was unaware that how quickly these steel needles wear out. According to some audiophile groups, you use them once. You play a song and then you throw them out. Hence there being a cup when you buy them by the hundreds, I guess. And I went down a rabbit hole of different modern things, from osmium and sapphire and all kinds of stuff, and different weights, and man. So part of it too is this tone arm is crazy heavy. If I was to put a modern cartridge on here, it would just bottom out instantly. This is heavy. I don't know, 1/4 pound, something like that. That's why you use a steel needle when it presses down hard and you get all that vibration, you get a really high output level. It's nothing like a modern cartridge. So to modify it to use one, I guess you can get some that have heavier, that can withstand heavier pressures, but that's one of the reasons why you can't just easily tack in a modern one. As far as what's in here right now, it's an A-static L40-A. And it's just soldered right in. It's not even hooked up to a plug or anything. I guess to get the needle out, you loosen this up. So there's the needle. I did not get any spares with it. This is my one and only needle. Got it back together. And while doing so, I was reminded just how cheap this thing is. I suppose it has a certain charm to it, but man. Anyways, cleaned up the plastic dial cover there a bit, and it's plugged in. Let's turn on the Variac and turn this on. Of course, there's no indication of whether it's turned on or not, because there's no dial lamp. We're just drawing some current. I don't know what mode I'm in. I think there was some kind of decal up on this mode switch. It must be an AM radio mode.
For our planet this holiday season.
I'm so glad it still works. It took me a while to muscle this thing back in. Not muscle, but finagle, I guess would be a better term. So there's 3 positions on this switch. Now this is off and on, so... Oop. I'm not sure what the middle position is. Maybe external input? That's kind of scary. So, does this cartridge... That's what I figured. Nada. I wonder what the middle position is. Whoa. Now I know what those marks are. Alright guys, I'm going to kick out of this. Alright, so that's as far as we're going to get tonight because I just don't have a working cartridge. But hey, it turns. It's actually not too bad. It's got a little rumble, it's a little bit of a dead spot, but it's spinning pretty good. It's got some torque to it. Oh, hey, let me try that again with the volume all the way up. That might help. You know? Maybe. Let me grab a 78 before I completely give up here. Alrighty, these are 78s. These are the things you can hit somebody's head over with and they shatter. They're made out of shellac. They're thick, they're heavy. So let's see, what do we got here? When the idle poor became the idle rich. Columbia Masterwork. Alright. So turn this on. Get this going. Oh yeah. Contacts. Let's make sure the radio's working first. Volume up.
Andre's down before talking to some friends. We'll be here in a moment.
At least the radio works. At least the radio works fairly well. Alright. So this tone arm cannot lift up. You have to slide it in from the side to lock it. And there is no automatic anything. This does not have an automatic return. This is nothing. This is just completely free flowing here. So there is sound. I'll move the camera closer, but it's just coming out of the vibrating needle. It's not making its way through. Something's a little eccentric too. Maybe it's just the label's off center. So as I was saying, it depends. Do I want to drop $50, $100 to make this thing work great? Given how cheap this thing is, I don't know. I'll think about it. All right. So how do you stop this crazy thing? There is no eject. Well, I could stop the motor and just have the needle drag through it, or I have to carefully lift this up without scratching the heck out of the record. Well, that was interesting. So if you're watching this channel, you know I don't do much with phonographs. I have another 78 RPM only in my GE802. It's a combo 10-inch TV, AM and FM radio, and phonograph from 1947, which I'm really looking forward to working on. It's one of the oldest TVs I have, and that's it. I don't have any 45s. And we have a modern, Bluetooth enabled of all things, 33 RPM, decent, nice turntable. But as far as old vintage ones go, it's not really my thing. So this is really my first foray into trying to get one working.
The best thing we can say about 2022
for what it is, it doesn't sound bad.
Stocks closed out their worst year since 2008 with another losing session.
So signal to noise ratio, you basically have to turn the volume up a bit to get the AVC to kind of get this above the noise. And again, if I kill the shop lights, it gets better. Now, what I wanted to show you about those scratches I mentioned, I was wondering what those marks were. That's from this. If this comes off and if this falls down, that's from that steel needle just scratching into the wood. Oh boy, that was an interesting little project.
Documentary called The Baby Boomer.
Just kick on the way.
Pro en cuanto cayeron sobre sí mismo.
About inexpensive. Only gusto. You know,
They was the lawbreaker, cut and dried.
People you don't know, me and Timberland been hot 20 years ago. What the dealio?
That's gonna be it for now, guys. Happy New Year. Thanks for watching.
Facts are deadly to the church.
Ciertamente.
Female singer out there with moving forward.
Flavors for you to choose, from Arctic Vibe to strawberry lemonade. Even better, get 3 Celsius energy drinks.